Well, we can consider this a rather bloggy episode. Now, I've been doing a lot of cleaning behind the scenes, and I'm just going to give you a few tips as to what I'm doing and how I do it. It's quite simple, really, but there are a few products that you may not naturally think of straight away that could be used for this sort of job. In relation to the boot, now in the last episode I said I was going to respray the boot. So let's give Andrew a score out of 10 for how bad his paintwork is. Oh yes, yes. Now, I have put the backlights back on. They've been given a really nice clean, and I've cleaned all around the light. And you know what? First thing first, back in the day, I always thought of the Fiesta Mark III and the Polo, the VW Polo Mark 1 and Mark 2 and the facelift Mark 2 as quite feminine cars. Because I tell you something, the one thing I got just strikes me every time I look at the front of the car, even though the car cover's on, is the way the car is actually quite straight along the wing. It almost gives the air of a VW Polo. They look very similar at the front. A VW Polo Mark II facelift and a Mark III Fiesta, although the Fiesta came out before then, but in white, because my neighbour has a VW Polo Mark II facelift, and in white. This is the first thing I keep thinking about with this car, is his car, because I've driven his car. It's a really nice car, actually. It's a good example of a Polo Mark II facelift. I'm not a massive person for VWs, but it was a good car. And the one thing that strikes me about this car is that it is a lady's car, because look at it. That is so feminine, that point that takes the light around the corner. Yeah, it's so good, isn't it? Now, I'm not doing anything particular in this episode. I did say I'm going to tackle that window reg, but today and the day after I videoed that, by the way, it's the day after, I am just cleaning. I'm going to go around, clean around here. I've noticed several things that I'm not particularly happy with. I've just taken the struts off and everything, and I've had a really good clean. It's come up so nicely. There's nothing around the struts. It's just dirty. Well, it's not even dirty rust. Excuse me. Right. I'm really happy with the way these have come out. But yeah, that pointy, feminine curve, it's almost like when a pretty lady wears a lipstick and you sort of get that curl right at the edge of the lip. Ah, nice. Very nice indeed. That's the best way I can put that, actually, but they do look rather feminine, but I'm glad they look good. And this bumper looks good, doesn't it? Yeah, because I've been using, don't blame me here, I actually gone a bit further. I had some leftover petrol, and I'm not joking, a petrol and a Scotch-Brite pad was the only thing to get all that nasty old spray paint off from that bloody boot. Yes, I've connected the lights back up. You just get a screwdriver and put the lights back in. I've even given this a bit of a Scotch-Brite because this was looking oversprayed. You can still see the overspray, but I'm going to try and get more of that off today. I couldn't quite see enough earlier, but look at that. It's amazing. Oh, I've missed a bit there as well. There was some overspray at the bottom there. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I'm going to have to sort of deal with that. There's some spits of paint here and there, some spits of paint there. Oh, one thing I don't like is that the trim has gone so... I think this happens to a lot of them. I've seen a few gears with the trim that's still looking relatively silver like that, although it's starting to go on the end there. That's weird. But overall, that's nothing, that's just dirt. Can we just see Andrew's work? I don't know what that is. I don't know. It's almost like I've got to peel that off. It's still coming off. It's like chewing gum. I think it seems sealer personally. It's gone a bit funny. But if we study Andrew's work, yep, we're coming into Andrew territory. That is where we have filled. That's where it was starting to go, if you remember. That's where the hole was. Yes. Andrew's work isn't brilliant, I have to say. We've kind of faded in at the end, and you can see where, oh for goodness sake, I didn't even get that right. That was really poor. This is not how to do paint work. I will say it again, it's not my strongest point, but which is why I am not going on the other side. I'm afraid these are going to be touched up because I do not want a visible line around here. I could go back to this lip, but I don't want a visible line like that one over there. I'm not very good with fading in and out. I know there's a way you can do it by curling the masking tape up, but you can tell me how to do it, guys. I'm sure some of you in the comments will point this out, but I'm not going to do it because it's just not my skill set. I'm afraid paint jobs never go right at home. And that's my top tip. If you want paint work to look good, take it to a body shop every single time. You're never going to achieve great results at home. But I would say it's a pretty decent match in some respects, although it tends to look a bit more yellow than the original paint. I've done it again. My masking was awful. No, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't brilliant. I didn't want to mask that out because I didn't want to go too far out, so I'm just going to touch maybe that up, but I don't really mind that. It's a bit of patina, but I've polished all this up. I've got to clean these contacts again because this is how the boot electrics join to the bottom of the loom. It's very weird, that, actually, but yeah, I'm sure I will give myself a score about 5 or 6 out of 10 for that, because actually it's pretty good, and it will be covered up with this. And the thing is, when you put this on, if I could try and force it on, no, it won't go, but basically at the rear end of the car you will see only that. You'll see a little faint line. That's it. You will barely see that line. I mean, I'm not being funny. If you stand back, yeah, you're not going to see it. So yeah, rinse me in the comments, but you can look at that. Whoever buys this car from me can either improve it or just say that's usually fixing and tinking patina, paint patina. Now, there's something I'm quite fascinated by looking at this boot. So we've got the floor, and then we've got this I don't know what it is. Is it fiberglass resin or some sort of mat? I don't know what it is. There's one there and one there. Maybe it's to just stop the boot floor getting dented, because it's quite a thin floor and that carpet is wafer thin. So what's happened here on this side is a bit of it has cracked. Oh, we got a hole in the floor. Oh dear. No, we haven't. That in there is like a grill. It goes all the way down here in this section, and this part of it covers the grill up. There'll be one, it's on this side. This is the same piece on the other side. They are the chassis rails. That's the chassis rail. So I don't want to drop anything down there. I may just fill that, I may not, but the truth is it can probably stay as it is because we're covered with the boot carpet. I'm not anticipating anything dropping down there at all. But it will just go into the chassis rail to be lost forever. So that's very weird, that is. But it has cracked in a few different places. This one's cracked, but it hasn't... well, obviously this is cracked, but this is the actual floor, I think. It's just weird. But that's obviously... That's just... I don't know what is... I don't know, honestly. Can anybody explain what this is? Is it supposed to be like a rubberized... Well, it's not even rubber. It's... I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, that's the only bit of patina, really. I've got a clip to go in there because someone's obviously had a bit of a rummage. I mean, you want to see how solid this is, guys? It's like that all the way down there. And this side is exactly the same. Yeah, I've just cleaned up and put all the electrics back in. I've just put the plugs back in. Now, interestingly, these plugs, there's these plugs. We've got one of these plugs in the engine bay for the electronic module on the Dizzy, right? Is this the first Ford to use these multi-point connectors? Because these connectors have been used on Fords 20 years later after this. Quite interesting, really. We've got a bit of internal rust going on here. That's really nasty, that is. But the thing is, I'm probably just going to put some rust converter on that, because otherwise we're going to go down the whole, well, I could take the backing off for a start, but these seats will possibly be coming out later on, at a later date, for a total refurb. I think the back seats are okay. They're a bit baggy in certain places, but they're not too bad actually. It's the driver's and the passenger seat that I'm going to be dealing with those baggy fabric. So I'll have a think about that, because that's going to result in a complete respray for the back of the seat, because if I do that bit, I've got to respray the whole thing. I've got to be very conscious here, and I may not do it, but I will put some rust converter on it just to reduce the appearance, because it will turn it black. I'm going to do that in a second. The other thing is the speakers work. Yeah, I've just put my FM transmitter. I was listening to some music, but I've turned it off to start talking to you guys. But they both work. I just had to re-glue this sticker back on because it fell off, and I thought, no, we'll keep the sticker back on. Thank you very much. That light doesn't appear to be lighting up, but I think it has to only light up when the headlight's on. I'm not sure, I'm not certain, but this piece of material that goes between the seat and the C-pillar was a bit, yeah, it's still a bit, the foam has gone in it and it's peeling away. So what I've done, I've put some contact cleaner and made a load of mess. I've got to scrub that up. But I've just put some glue on both sides just to put it back down, because it was raining a bit of foam. But otherwise, I'm just cleaning the boot tray. What I am going to do in this episode off camera is I'm going to put the spare wheel back in. The spare wheel well, it's ready to go back in. I've got the clip which I bent back into place and painted up again, and the spare wheel tray is in fantastic condition. It painted up really well, and the spare wheel is actually going to remain as the spare wheel, because I've come to the conclusion that I actually think none of these tyres are any good for the spare wheel. So it will remain as it is. So all these tyres are going to be the ones that are changed. That is it. What else I noticed? Well, I've gone over and put some white spirit on all of this. This is an interesting material. It is starting to split into two. The sort of, you've got this sort of polystyrene plastic. I don't know what it is. It's it feels a bit, but it's actually quite nice to touch. In certain ways. But I've just gone over with white spirit because, once again, overspray. It seems to be a conversation that this car has continuously. Still finding specks of paint everywhere. Just, oh man. But apart from that, it's cleaning up really well in the corners, and as you can see, I'm starting to just clear it up with some terps. And that's what I use, guys. I have used petrol, admittedly, on this because I think it needed it. But overall, I'm really pleased with the whole condition of the boot. It's cleaned up really well. Even under the rubbers, I'm not too concerned. Oh dear me. But I think there is some rust underneath here, but I don't think, whether it was a hole, I don't know. I might have to take the cover off at some point, but I'm going to I've got to take a photo of that, get a new sticker made, D&B Graphics. I'm going to go to them for that. They haven't got a specific sticker for 1.4 gear. They've got Fiesta, but they haven't got this. So hopefully they might be able to make me a sticker. I really hope so. I have repainted the wiper arm, by the way. This, I'm not happy with the wear on this, but it's just wear and tear that you can see. I don't know if I can get another one of these. Does anybody know where I can get these from? Have you got a link? Because I would like to replace that. This boot will continuously get better as I move the overspray back in, because I think this is the area of suspicion. This is where we can see a dollop of filler. I've got a feeling there's a hole in that. But I have peeled underneath here, so you got this. I think it's quite a common fault with Mark III Fiestas to rot along here on the boot, because there's an F-Reg one in the actual breakers at the moment in Essex, exactly like this, in 1.4 gear with the sticker intact. And I am taking a few bits off that car. For instance, that I need the aerial, but someone's left the screw in, but I need the actual twist base and the aerial. So I've got that. I've asked the seller, there is a battery cover on that car, so I've asked if I can get the battery cover. That'll be quite nice, just as an accessory. I am going to get some things made up for this car. I'm going to get a retro tax disc. These are not important things. These will come later, but I'm just having a few ideas at the moment. But there's no rust that I can see underneath here. I've peeled it up, and I'm pretty satisfied about that. But it seems to be quite a common fault. I mean, to be honest with you, cars of this age without bonded screens, the water will get in under there and start rotting it out. It's quite common. It's really common. But I'm really pleased. So I'm going to leave that here. Oh, I have to get rid of all that. Stop it. It won't look brilliant at first, but it will do for now. What's happened is someone's scratched the actual surface of the paint, and it's just started rusting afterwards, but I'm not sure why, because it's pretty watertight, although that I've got to deal with. I think dabbing it on is the best way of getting it on. There we go, it's starting to react straight away. I don't think brushing it on is a brilliant thing. I think you've got to dab this on. There we go. Just... There we go. Lovely. Probably not quite as big as the original, but fir tree clip. It pays to have a load of these. I bought an assortment of 1,000 fir tree clips and all the trim clips you get. Very handy on Fords, very handy indeed. All right. ASMR, here we come. It's all about making the thing look as nice as possible. And this is definitely where they take. I think this is definitely one part of the car. To not mess with not spray paint. You can't spray paint, you just crack underneath. And then you have the same problem about 6 months later. Yep, I think I'll leave that there. I've just scrubbed it up again, and that's as good as what it's going to ever look, to be honest with you. And that's what we want. I could give it a bit of a polish up, but I don't think that's necessary. It's a boot floor. Boot floor is a boot floor, and yeah. Apart from this, which I'm a bit piffed off about, but to be honest, it's fine. It is what it is. But it's not generally a hole into the floor of the car. It's just the material, whatever this is cracked and peeled up. That's quite an interesting design feature that I've exposed, and I don't think many people would actually realise that unless you've got the same issue. It's possible things have been literally dumped in this car, and over time it's just made this go brittle, and it's cracked. You know, it is the way it is, but everything else looks fantastic, and I can start putting all this back together. But this is where I leave you guys. I'm going to probably go round and just have a general clean up of this door. I'm just not happy with this door. I'm just going to try and take as much of this crap off as possible, because obviously it's the old weather shield. Someone's been in here before to replace the reg, and I just hate this stuff. Look at that. It's just holding dirt in. Oh, go on. No, I thought it was going to come off in one piece there. So, right, what I am also going to do about the doors is I'm going to stuff a load of Dinatrol in it, because this Dinatrol was actually left from the Focus, well, injecting the Focus seals. I'm going to have a look to see if I can inject these seals, because it's a really good idea to do that. But I'm going to stuff it at the bottom of the doors and that door, obviously. So I'll leave that here. The rear doors, yes, they're going to have the same treatment, so the door cards are going to come off. I'll tell you something, it's really irritating me. That's disgusting. It's actually bubbled a little bit more. So well, these are all going to come off, but at a later stage, because I want to get the car running first and sort the priorities out first. But this is a really good exercise, and I'm going to just continually try and clean ever so much a little bit more. But yes, I'm going to leave you with the femininity of the rear light clusters. I have to say, I've had this idea where I think, because I like to keep mementos of every car I've owned, and I would like an example, a rear light of every single car I've owned. So I will get a rear light for one of these, probably the reverse light for one of these, a Focus Mark 1 rear light, and a Rover P6 rear light. Obviously the ST170 having exactly the same rear lights as the standard Focus. So I might do that actually, just as a little memento, because, you know, front headlights, I will say this, yes, they're characterful and you can identify them, but often they're not in one piece. Because, for instance, these, you've got the headlights and you've got the side light. It's not really characterful. These are one unit, and you can identify this a mile off, but it's massive. But I often think that the rear lights are the identifying identical factor of Fiesta Mark 7. You know, they are the unique characteristic of a car, and I think the backlights are more unique than the front headlights in many cars. I think the front headlights, especially on modern cars of the last 15 years or so, they all look the same, but the rear lights continue to look pretty different. Now, we're almost in, apart from the fact that this bolt that goes to this hook, which is there, has kind of seized at the end, and I've had to put the tap on it. Why is everything not so simple? Why is there a cutout, Focus? Why is that cutout on the thread? There's another one there. Is that a safety measure? Because, oh Jesus, just have to wind this all the way off. Now it's nice and free. Jesus. Bloody last now, got to paint this again. I've had to put a tap through this thread as well. Oh God. Now that is nice. God. Right, that will go on without twisting. You've got a Mark III Fiesta, you will have this problem. Yeah, that is well and truly gone. Brilliant. I will lower this down when we come to the Dynax. We need to Dynax this car before it goes on the road whatsoever. Beautiful. Look at that tray. It's looking a lot better under there now. Brilliant. Right. Lovely. We'll give that a bit of a scrub up later on and pass yourself. Anyway, that's me done. Well, almost anyway.